Hi there. I'm going to start this series of traps on the Marshall Gambit with this easy one. This is the Marshall line poisoned knight trap. It's in, of course, the Spanish. e4 and e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, the Spanish. The line that we're looking at, the Marshall Gambit, was concocted by Marshall with the black pieces ahead of his encounter with Jose Raul Capablanca. Okay, a6 kicks the bishop back to a4, knight f6, and white castles. Black goes for the closed line of the Spanish with bishop e7 as opposed to the open line with knight takes on e4, bishop e7, rook e1 now defends the pawn on e4, and b5 hits the bishop, sending it back to b3. Now black castles, c3, intends d4. This was the line that Capablanca would habitually play, and Lasca prepared against this very variation, this move d5, which gives away a pawn. After e takes on d5, knight takes on d5, and knight takes on e5, knight takes on e5, rook takes on e5, with white now a pawn up, but black gets very active development and very lively piece play. Well, in the game itself, Capablanca against Marshall, Marshall dropped the knight back to f6. That's the move we're going to look at in a second, but it would appear modern analysis and theory does seem to prefer the move c6. But c6 will usually be met by d4 and then bishop d6, and black's going to get very active play against white's castled king in return for the pawn. But as I mentioned in the game itself and in this trap, we're looking at the knight dropping back to f6. Now d4 is met by bishop d6 and rook e1. In this trap, black can try knight g4, immediately hitting the pawn on h2. And the best move here for white would be probably to play h3, in fact. But it's easy to be tempted to play the move g3, and perhaps that's incorrect. It does allow black now to firmly and squarely equalize with knight takes on h2. Offering the knight up for capture, white would do well not to capture, to play queen h5, which hits the knight and sends the knight back to g4 with around equality. If instead king takes on h2, then it's game over, and we're going to run through the next moves quite quickly. It's game over after queen h4 check, because the pawn on g3 is pinned, so the queen is immune from capture. King g1 is met by a sacrifice, bishop takes on g3. After f takes on g3, queen takes on g3. It's a forced mate in about 8 or 10 moves, I'm not counting. But king f1, bishop h3 check. The king is going to go to the e file. Well, the rooks could certainly enter into the game now, but queen g2 is, I think, more correct. Now, after king d3, bishop f5, the rook can block. Queen takes on e4, king d2, queen f4 sends the king against the e file. Now rook a e8, bishop e6. White's just going to give up and interpose with all his pieces. Rook takes on e6, queen e2, rook takes e2, king takes e2, rook e8, bishop e3, and queen takes e3 sends the king back to f1 or to d1 with mate on e1. So this has been the Marshall line poisoned knight trap in the Marshall Gambit of the Spanish. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.